Phil, the floor is yours. Hello, Phil. Did we lose Phil? I don't see him on the list now.
He's there.
Okay, it's like I didn't know whether he handed it off to me or not.
Yeah,
I just
yeah,
went to grab
sorry.
some coffee.
Okay, it's all yours.
So are we doing the presentation after or
Before, because I
Okay.
need to get things taken
Okay,
care of.
let's go ahead and hand it off to Jason then, our activities manager, to present for the program.
Okay, well, hey, welcome everyone to our February General Club meeting. The presentation actually this month is the swap meet. So it's letting the swap meet folks talk about the what we've got pending. Actually, the new mask updates might be a good one and what have you. So I'll hand it over to the swap meet committee. Off to you guys. Thank you.
So I guess that's going to be me. I'm doing the program today. Welcome to the well, I need to share my screen. All right. Bingo. That show up?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yep, I can't see it. So anyway, all right, at least not in the public view. So anyway, welcome to the 2022 swap meet program. I'm Michael Dinkelman, N7WA. We haven't done one of these for a while. It's been 2 years. Our last swap meet was in 2020. And usually in person, I run this thing pretty loosely with lots of feedback and kibitzing from the audience. I don't think that's going to work so well on Zoom. So if you have comments or questions or want to kibitz, maybe you could type that into the chat and Jim, Phil, or Jason can monitor that stuff and I'll periodically ask about something. I went and looked at the roster the other day and there's probably about 30, statistically, there's 30% of the people in this club I have never seen it before in person. There are 94 members, not including the new ones that are going to get voted in today, that have joined this club since the last swap meet. And that's slightly over a third of the current membership and only slightly fewer than the number of workers we normally use to run this event. Of course, these aren't normal times, but I'm kind of hopeful that maybe we can see them from here. And a high percentage of the new folks have not signed up to work this event. If that's because of COVID-19 and the situation around it, that's fine. That's been anticipated for the last several months, but maybe it could be just because you don't know what this swap meet thingy is all about and you want to get involved. So maybe I can enlighten you and you'll want to join us, if not this year, maybe next year. The swap meet is our most important activity of all we do all year. I know, field day, swap meet, field day, swap meet. But anyway, it provides most of our funding. You really didn't think that 12 bucks a year went very far. You'll just have to look at our club budget to see where it goes. It allows us to maintain our repeaters. It allows us to fund the public service booklet we give away. It funds field day and the picnic. It pays for our meeting location when we get back there. This is not a virtual club, even though a third of it has only seen it that way, and it takes money to run it. The swap meet is important in the local ham community. If you've been a ham for as long as I have, you'll notice there's not too many ham fests anymore. It's kind of a big loss. It's a good chance for our community of hams to gather around, trade junk, and have a few eyeball-to-eyeball contacts. Some of us will see friends that we only see at the swap meet once a year. That happens to me a lot. And we've been doing this for 40 years. I'm not quite sure we got another 40 years in us, but I think we have at least a few more. Finally, the swap meet is fun. It's a way for us to come together as a club in a common effort, something that's been tough for a long time. Making money is keeping dues lows is nice, but I got into ham radio for fun. If it was just about making money, I could easily give this up, reclaim the hours, and gladly pay just 50 bucks a year in dues or something. But this is a lot of fun. So I hope the new members will consider that aspect of that. So that's what the swap meet is all about. And did I mention we're having a swap meet next month? Any questions? Anything from the chat? Nope.
Nothing in the chat so far.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to introduce you to the chairpersons who I'm going to introduce you to the chairpersons who have been working on this since September. We'll take a look at the layout of the fairgrounds, how we set up our event. We'll talk about the general schedule of it, how it flows over the 2 days. We have a hospitality room for our workers. We'll talk about that. And we need to talk about communications, which is going to be internal communications, which is going to be a little bit different this year than if you've been a participant in the past. So our chairpersons, note, if you have a question about the duties that you signed up for, these are the people you need to contact. So, you know, you're going to get an email if you signed up that will remind you of what you signed up for. And on your badges, I will have little stickers with the schedule that you signed up for as a reminder as well. But if you still have questions before we get down there, where you're supposed to go, what you're going to be doing, these are the people that you'll want to contact, and they're all in the roster. And I think most of us are pretty easy to find. So Hal, N7NW, is our grand exhausted poobah. He's pretty unflappable, which is good. He's the point man when communicating with the fairgrounds. He's the one who talks to the fairgrounds. He's the one who talks to the 4x4 group. And it's good to have just one person in charge of that. And if I got questions whether I should do something or not, I usually run it by Hal as well. He will be also in charge of laying out the floors on Thursday before we get down there on Friday. You would like a couple more folks to help out if you can. If you can, it's pretty light work. It's like putting pieces of tape on the floor and a big tape measure. You can contact Hal. Country Store. Dan, KG7DAB, runs the Country Store, which is how we can make a little bit of extra money selling items for people that don't want to get a table. And as a worker, you can sell items free of consignment fees at the Country Store. So it's kind of a nice little perk of working. And Dan still needs some help as well, both Friday and Saturday. So you can contact Dan if you want to help out. And if you go to a particular job and you find it on the vault and it's filled up, don't be afraid of contacting the person anyway and sending me a message saying, oh, Dan says that I could sign up for Friday at 8 o'clock in the morning to help him out. But it's all full up. Everybody wants to work down. I'll be happy to make you a badge that you can go and help. So don't be limited by what's on the volunteer web sign-up sheet. Loading dock, Pallet Crew. Gary, KG7KU's been doing this a lot of years. He's in charge of the loading dock and the crews. So we transport stuff from the loading dock to the vendors' tables. And they load their stuff on pallets, and we have wonderful pallet jack drivers that will take that stuff to their table and drop it off. So we also, not everybody's a Pallet Crew driver. We have people that sort of keep things under control by, oh, you're at table such and such, and they'll make out a sticky note or something and identify the pallet and things like that. And we need people just to grab pallets off the pile and throw them on the ground for people to use or to restack them when they come back. So there's a lot of work out there. It tends to be a little bit more physical than a lot of our jobs, but it's kind of fun out there. Public announcement, we have Ivy, WA7IVA, IVY, and she's been doing this as well. I haven't seen Ivy in person in a couple of years. I look forward to that. She and her crew will answer questions all day long, make announcements, and are generally the hub for communications. If somebody's looking for me or Hal, we can be just about anywhere. She knows how to get a hold of us. If there's announcements to be made, she'll do that. They have the information table in front of them with flyers from different events. They also, this is a little perk, we usually bring down a couple hand trucks, and Ivy can sign those out to people who buy something really big and that want to get it out to their car. They'll just give up their driver's license, and when they come back with the truck, she'll give it back to them. So that's kind of a nice perk that we do. And I think her slots are pretty well filled up. She's got a crew that's pretty dedicated to her. Bronwyn is our
Mike?
new hospital. What was that? No.
Oh, Mike, this is KG7MX. I would just like to ask that you state the call-in frequency for communicating with Ivy's group on announcements.
Oh, it's
so
just
that
a
we can
repeater.
know.
It's the repeater.
Yeah, Mike, it's just the repeater. So, and do we turn off the PLL, Hal?
No.
So the PLL is still going. So it's just like anybody getting on the repeater any other time. So, all right.
I just wanted to make sure that everybody that was listening would know that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's why when we do this in person, we get lots of stuff like that flying by. So no problem. That's good, Mike. I can't think of everything. I'm good at it, but I can't think of everything. We have a new hospitality this year. Michelle has stepped down, and Bronwyn has KG7KAK is our new hospitality chair. And be nice to her. We need her. Otherwise, you would have been stuck with me as hospitality chair, and I would have just thrown 3 crock pots out on a table, a cooler full of water and pop, and you would have been on your own. So I don't know what she's planning on doing, but you don't want me running hospitality. So treat her well. She is immunocompromised, so we're asking people to wear masks because our hospitality room is somewhat confined. If the weather's nice and stuff, you can go outside and eat and things like that. But welcome on board, Bronwyn. Registration. Shoot, I'm registration this year. My wife used to be registration. So I've taken it on simply because I probably know more about the database and all the stuff that Diane used to do since I was helping her. So if you're working for registration and you have questions, then contact me. I will be sending out emails the week before the swap meet with detailed information to my workers. So you will be hearing from me if you don't try to get a hold of me. We have a new ticket chair this year. Manfred, our chairman of the board, has thrown himself into this event. He's never done a swap meet before, I don't believe, but we've combined him up with a previous ticket chair, George, AE7G, and we're sort of hoping that it's not, you know, Manfred is a physicist, and this is not rocket science. So to do the tickets. So anyway, it was going to be a little bit more complicated because we were going to have to vax check everybody or check for a negative COVID test. And fortunately, that went away this past week, and that will help. Because of COVID, we have limited the number of people who are going to be working in each ticket booth. We to 1 person per booth. So that's going to possibly make it a little bit, we're hoping we haven't overloaded our people out there. We're actually going to have 4 ticket sellers. 2 of them have volunteered to sit in 1 booth. So we're hoping that will work. Jim has expressed a desire, our treasurer, to do electronic sales. I don't know how they're going to do that because the person who used to do that will not be there on the first shift. So one of the 4 will need to take that up. Manfred has expressed his desire to maybe do it as well, but we'll see. Some of this stuff is not nailed down yet, but we're going to be that is the theme of this event. We're going to be flexible and nimble. Our treasurer, Jim. So Jim, you probably will not see much of. Jim was really good this year. He usually has like about 13 people he requires to run this thing, and he really reduced the number of slots, and it helped a lot to allow us to fill out this place. But if you still want to work, if you want to work with the treasurer, and you have to be an actual club member because you're handling money, don't be afraid to contact Jim and tell him, hey, I can help out. So that's very important. If we can't take tickets and we can't take money, we're in bad shape. VE exams are handled by Scott, AG7T. He has his own domain and it works, and we don't mess with it. Any questions or comments?
Nothing
Wow.
from the chat so far.
I guess I'm just going to have to do this by Zoom from now on. It's just flying by. All right. This is our home for 2 days in March. This is the Washington State Fairgrounds, also known as the Puyallup Fair. This will be our home for 2 days, starting at the northeast corner up there in the upper right is the Gold Gate. We sell tickets at the Gold Gate. The Gold Lot across the street from the Gold Gate is where you park during setup and during the event. Do not park in the restaurant event across from the Gold Gate. You will get towed prior to 2 o'clock for setup. Now, I don't know how this is going to work. So the gates are locked during setup. And we normally used to come through the administration building and just come through and say we're with the Mike and Key. That was a problem a couple years ago when COVID was bursting through and they weren't happy. Do you got any updates, Hal?
No, I don't, but I think at that time they had us come through that small gate that's just to the west of the Gold Gate, big car gate. There's a little small gate there. So we may have to man that, or we'll work it out.
Yeah. Yeah, something. Anyway, I would hate to have to put somebody out there to man a gate just to so people can come through, but we'll see what happens. So be prepared if you're coming to do setup that you may have to figure out how to get in, and it may be through administration, or it may be through a small gate at the big car gate at the Gold Gate. So this is also where we sell tickets. We have 3 booths out there. We will have a Gold Gate registration out there for vendors coming through. So it's a pretty important spot, and it opens up at 2 o'clock on Friday, and then it opens again at 5, and it's open from 2 o'clock to 7:30 when we leave. Excuse me. And
Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah, that gate may be already open anyway, because there's more than likely they're going to have something going on at the pavilion, or excuse me, at the expo hall. So I think that's the way it was last year or 2 years ago, is that that gate was already open because they have people doing stuff in the expo hall on Friday.
We will be flexible and nimble.
I'll double check and verify that, and we can send a note out by email to the workers.
Sounds good. Let's see, I mentioned about the tickets and the Gold Gate and the setup hours. We open it up to us at 5 o'clock in the morning Saturday. The vendors cannot come in until 5:30. That's so we can get our pallet crew in and registration in and stuff like that. So, and then it will be the fairgrounds provides a worker, or we pay for a worker to man that gate. So they unlock it for us and do different things.
One comment is that for the people who are coming in early at 5 a.m. on Saturday morning, they need to come in through the Gold Gate. Normally the Gold Gate is our exit area, but at 5 a.m. you line up and you can come in through there. And those who need to be inside with a vehicle, I'll have car passes for them. But that's not everybody.
That's very few people.
Yes.
All right. So just south of the Gold Gate, you'll see the pavilion. 2 floors, 40,000 square feet of floor space. It's a great facility, except for one thing, and that would be the elevator. We'll talk about that a little bit later. We normally set up about 300 tables. Probably not so this year. We'll get to that a little later. But and just south of the pavilion is what's known as the Fairview Club. That's where the VE exams are held, and our hospitality room is in the first aid room of the Fairview Club. So we're separated from the pavilion, and that's where we'll be holding exams and hospitality. Out to the west is the Orange Gate. That's where our folks line up. It's also where the 4x4 people line up, so that will be a problem Saturday. It kind of gets to be a mess until it's cleaned up, and we will not have a person out at the Orange Gate this year. Normally registration has somebody out there. We reduced that because of frankly, we're understaffed. So, and most of our people know how to come in once they get past there will be a worker from the Fairgrounds that will be manning that gate. And our people will just turn left and then come down Grand Avenue. They know where we're at. So, and registration, I'll provide is down there on Grand Avenue, halfway between the pavilion and the Orange Gate. People will come down to registration. They'll pick up their packet. We won't have to check them for fax checking. You just don't know how happy that makes me. And then they'll head to the pavilion to unload. We'll usually have a person right there, a little bit offset from the loading dock that holds people up until there's a slot free at the loading dock. And then people who have unloaded will drive out through the Gold Gate. Anybody who unloads has to leave immediately to go park in the Gold Gate. There is no reason to hang out while we take their stuff to their tables. They have a badge to get back in. It just clogs things up. Any questions about the layout of the fairgrounds?
I have one question about coming in for like country store. This is Dan, by the way. Hi, everybody. What about handicapped parking? Is that going to be available at the actual pavilion area like it was last year?
There is no handicap parking.
Well, I mean, the parking really close to the pavilion.
So Hal is the one. So what happens is that, go ahead.
Yeah, in the gold parking lot, the first few rows right next to the corner is for handicap parking. Now,
and that's how they handle it during the fair. So,
that's right. And if for our workers, if we have, there are a couple that have handicap, and normally we'll get them a pass so they can park inside. But that's very, very limited parking inside. Because cars are just in the way.
And most of us that park inside park way out at registration, halfway
That's right.
across the fairgrounds.
Right.
It's just as long a walk as it is from the gold parking lot. So anyway, though Susie is available to transport people sometimes on the golf cart. All right, back to, boom, I messed that up. All right, so this is an aerial view. It's a little bit, the map is fine, but this sort of gives everything in a picture or a view. That blue building on the left side of the photograph is registration. So that's where we meet up our customers, and then all the folks, they line up all the way down between there and the loading dock. And you can see the pavilion, you can see the Fairview Club and the Gold Gate. There's a fountain around the Gold Gate. This year, T-Mobile has decided they want to join us. We're going to park a van out there. They're going to have a booth inside and they're going to have a van outside. I tried to dissuade them from coming, but they think that they can sell. So if you're a T-Mobile customer or want to become a T-Mobile customer, I guess it'll be a good opportunity for you. So
and we'll take your money.
Yes, we will take their money. I can't say I didn't tell them so if they go away unhappy. What was
well, there's a radio inside them cell phones.
Yeah. I mentioned we have a registration table out at the Gold Gate. If you're working out, if you're working anywhere and someone's got a problem with their registration, do not make them walk out to the blue registration, the main registration. Do not make them walk out to the Gold Gate registration to get it fixed up. Get a hold of somebody in registration. We'll talk about communications later, and we will happily come to them and get it resolved. 10 years ago, we had somebody at the Gold Gate send somebody walking all the way on the outside of the fairgrounds through the Orange Gate to our registration. So I mean, they basically walked all the way around the fairgrounds and then back halfway through it. I've always felt bad about that. We have a golf cart. If we need to go get them, we can bring them somewhere, we can take them somewhere. But don't ask anybody to go traipsing across the fairgrounds. Let's see. Yeah, like I said, most issues can be resolved over the radio or runner. As the vendors, I talked about lining up the vendors before the pavilion, and we're fine. Okay, next slide. Any questions before I go any further? All right, so this is, if you've never been there, this is how we load up. Well, we have 2 floors. This is how we lay out, or how Hal lays out the first floor. It's pretty standard over the years. Sometimes a divider between a booth comes down, or one goes up, or somebody gets an extra booth. But this is just the way it has been for 20 years, probably. So that's why it says the 2017 Mike and Key ARC electronics floor plans. So there's about 198 tables down here. So excuse me, you will find the elevator or the PA up at the northeast corner. So that's off to the left in yellow there. There's normally a restaurant. It's not called Gigi's anymore up there, a snack bar type thing as well. They might be open Friday, or at least setting up. I don't think they'll be selling stuff. They used to put out coffee for us, but I don't think that's happened for a while. You'll see the loading dock down at the lower right. An elevator is there. There's an escalator at the bottom of or there are up and down going escalators at the bottom of the map. And we line up folks at the left side of the map along that big long slanted where it says doors. And that's the buyer entrance. It's also a buyer entrance to the escalators. And each section has a power drop. Only the east and the west walls are considered commercial space, usually up to 200 square feet of a booth space. And we do divide them up in half when desired. Next step, second floor. The second floor will not look like this year. We don't know what it's going to look like, but we will have the country store that's on the left side. We will have at least some of the information tables. I think I have 5 reserved. The ARRL booth will be there. The purple booths are all sold out. A good portion of the K, the M, and the R sections are sold, and a good portion of the N section, and a small portion of the L, mostly guys who want to be by the country store. We're probably going to have to move some of those people to fill out K, M, and R. P and T will probably go away, and it's even possible that M and S and maybe, or at least parts of N and S and L will go away. We don't know. We got, my calendar says a couple more weeks. I have been getting more calls about tables. So it's possible, but I would not expect the second floor to be more than about a third full. Then in some ways that'll be good because we're understaffed. We won't need as many people up there to run pallets. We send pallets up and down the elevator. So this is, everybody who calls me about a table and says, they're willing to go on the first floor, it's full disclosure. I tell them I don't think it's going to be more than a 30% full. So that's, I'm not going to lie to people or confuse them. Hopefully next year we can get back to normal. I am sure this is all an outcome of COVID. People aren't comfortable coming back yet. Maybe over the next couple of weeks, more people will become comfortable with it. We expect a similar hit to our attendance. So this is reality. Okay. Questions about the second floor?
Can you clarify the comment about escalators not running?
Oh no, the escalators will run.
It says escalator runs during event only, historically Saturday, not Friday.
Oh yeah, well, we don't have the escalator running during setup because there's only the buyers really use it. The vendors,
All right,
they'll either go up the stairs, there's stairs there, or they'll use the elevator.
thank you.
So yeah, but yeah, we
Yeah, the escalator requires a fair person to man it. And
Yep.
we have to pay them anyway. We normally don't have that running on Friday, but we do have it running on Saturday.
okay. So the basic schedule on Friday, starting early in the morning, 8 a.m. Well, of course, Hal's going to go down there Thursday to set up the floor. I'm also going to go down Thursday to set up registration because I'm also part of setup and I can't be in two places at once. So I'll go down Thursday and set up the registration building, and then my workers will finish whatever needs to be done Friday morning. It shouldn't be too much after that. I've got some pretty experienced registration people.
Hey, Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to mention the fact that we are bringing pallets down on Tuesday,
Mhm.
and you're also going to bring the rest of them on Thursday. Is that the idea?
That's the idea. So so those who haven't heard, Kevin Barrows, the person who used to keep our pallets, he wasn't a club member, but he was a close friend to the club and has stored our pallets for years and years and then brings them down on a nice big trailer. And it's just like, wow, you couldn't ask for something better. Became a silent key in September. And we didn't know until I went to contact him in December. And I got a message back from his sister. They apologized. They didn't know the pallets were ours. They sold them at an estate sale, and I just about went through the floor in the morning. It was a two-day scramble. Actually, only a one-day scramble. We rapidly found. First of all, we started thinking if there's some place we could rent some pallets, and there's actually a big pallet company in Puyallup, and I contacted them. And no, we don't rent pallets, but we got a whole bunch of plastic ones if you want them. And I just about, went nuts because they recycle, they build, they refurbish wooden pallets. And when they bring in wooden pallets, they invariably get some plastic ones that come in with them. And they have to take them to the dump. And it costs them $1,400 a trailer load to take the pallets to the dump. They were just as happy for us to come down and get their pallets as we were to come down and get them. And we upgraded our pallets, frankly. We have nothing but stacking pallets now. They're pretty nice. The ones Hal have are really nice because they really stack down to, like a couple inches each. And they don't hold water. They need to be pressure washed. I think a lot of these pallets come from farms in Eastern Washington, probably used to hold feed, and feed tends to get out. And that's what it looks like on the pallets. I've pressure washed all of mine, but I will be bringing down half of my pallets Tuesday. Hal will be bringing down all of his pallets Tuesday, and we'll stack them up at the pavilion. And then I'll bring the second half of my pallets on Thursday when I come down to do registration.
Yeah, my comment is also that we could use a couple extra bodies because we're going to have to unload most of these manually.
Yeah, that's kind of a long ways to come just to help unload pallets. But if you want to come down and unload pallets, that's fine. You could probably drive through the service gate, which is on the southwest corner of the fairgrounds, and just tell them you're with the Mike and Key setup crew.
It's off of 15th.
Right. So, but yeah, we could, we're we're not spring chickens, Hal and I, and these pallets do get heavy. And his are kind of, we've crammed them really well into his trailer. So it's not like we can take a forklift and just lift them off and put them down, which we did with Kevin. But we are adapting to the new situation, and we'll worry about getting them home afterwards. Where am I
Mike,
now?
This is Michael Hansen,
Yeah.
KG7MX.
Uh-huh.
I'd like to suggest that you have some kind of stencil made that says property of Mike and Key ARC on it, and apply that stencil with some spray paint to every object that the club owns if you can.
That's tough.
Just a suggestion.
These are plastic that doesn't take spray paint very well. As those who remember, we used to mark our pallets with green and red paints for the roof or for upstairs and for downstairs. And they do not take paint well, and there's really not much other than the top. That's a good suggestion, Mike. I don't know how to do it. So, but if somebody else wants to take that up as a project over the next year and figure out a way that we could mark these things that are us. So if I get hit by a truck, my estate doesn't get rid of the pallets, then I'm willing to work with somebody doing that. Okay, any questions? Oh, I haven't even finished going across the schedule yet. All right, so 8 to 12, we are doing setup. 12 to noon, we provide lunch. This is why it's important to sign up for setup, because we don't want to buy too much lunch or too little lunch for those coming in. After lunch until 2 o'clock, there's usually a bunch of little things that need to be done. And if not, then it's a good time to take a break, because at 2 o'clock, we let the hordes in, and the vendors will pop in, and usually they've been lined up out there since 6 o'clock in the morning. The first couple hours, there's a good crowd of vendors coming in. I don't expect that to change. I do expect it to slow down a lot after that, simply because we aren't going to have as many vendors. Pallet Crew will be going full bore at that time. Registration will be going that time. I think Dan will be setting up Country Store. People who want to put stuff into Country Store will come through just like the vendors will. We'll talk about a little of that out later. And it just goes that way all day long until about 7:30, when we start pushing people out. And then we all go home, or we leave and we're out the door by 8 o'clock. Go home, get some sleep, and have some dinner or something, and be prepared for the next day. Any questions about the basic schedule?
Mike, Sam, we're not doing the telephone system this year?
No, I did not mention we're not doing the telephones. Two reasons. One, it takes people, and we don't have many people. Two, the person who was in charge of the telephones did not want to deal with the COVID protocols this year, which is fine. No judgments at all. We understand what's going on, but the telephone system we decided to reduce the staffing and security and the telephone setup. Now we may regret this. I mean, the telephone's been good all these years. It's been a good way, without using radios, of talking between place to place. But what we're going to use for registration, I've got about 5 FRS radios. We have telephones. Half the time I end up using a telephone anyway to talk to people. I mean, a mobile phone, not the phone. And like I said, there's a lot of people required to string those wires, get the forklifts in there and the whole bit, plus tear it all down afterwards. So it's going to be a grand experiment this year, and we'll see how it goes.
Thank you.
No problem.
I'm not going to be there for setup or for Saturday, because I'm immunocompromised also.
And I understand that totally. So and you were one of the telephone setup people too. So that's something. We looked for places that we could cut and still staff the things that we needed to staff. Where was I? Oh, any more questions about the Basic Friday? Okay. So this is the first floor, what it looks like, ready for setup. You'll see carts there with lots of tables on them. You'll see booth dividers, those wooden panels there. You'll see a couple big carts there. They have chairs. So our job is to, you can't see the tape on the floor here, but line up through the layup we showed before is the layout. And I really, I want to those, okay. So each of those carts holds 15 tables. Do not use broken tables, set them aside. We don't want somebody's valuable stuff to collapse under a table. It would not be very good. Watch out for staples when you're dealing with the tables, tacks and nails. They're not supposed to be staples and tacks and nails on them, but these tables are used for every event down there, and people staple them, tack them, and nail them. Bring gloves, bring hard-toed shoes. They're heavy tables. If you have one of those back braces, bring it. It's
You might
best.
want to also mention that you work in pairs, so it's 2 people per table until you work.
My next statement. So we recommend it's best to work in pairs. Trust me, as someone who much younger, 20 years ago, would throw around tables, I don't do that anymore. My back can't handle it anymore. So take my experience. I've gone home with many a sore back. And I just, for those of you who can't do tables, we have chairs. Each table gets 2 chairs. Each booth only gets 2 chairs. Do not put 4 tables. So if it's a half booth, it only gets 1 chair. There are some booth dividers, and we generally just put those will be identified on the map. Some tables in this.
Half a booth would get 2 chairs.
Oh, okay.
2 chairs per booth, whether it's half or full.
Okay, that's fine. We do pay for every table and for every chair. So if we have a broken chair or a broken table, put it back. We don't want to pay for it. Leave it on the cart. Some of the booths get extra tables too, and that will also be marked on the map. The site process is the same upstairs. When we do tear down, it's important to put the tables back on the right carts. Those carts right there aren't too bad because those are specific tables. They get stacked up, and those you get stacked up to the top. Legs go up. The other carts, there's 15 tables that go to a cart. They'll usually be like green carts and purple carts, and the tables will be similarly spray painted. So don't mix them up. Stack them nice. It's a pain. We're tired at teardown. But if we don't stack them nice, they restack them and they charge us $35 an hour to do so. So they pay their workers to redo it. So make sure we do that. Carts, when we're done taking the tables off, go outside in front of the Fairview Club. That's where hospitality and the VE exams are. The upstairs carts will stay upstairs. We can put them in the dark room up there. There's places, and frankly, I think we're just going to have lots of room this year for carts upstairs. Any question? Okay, there's the guys working on doing layouts. You see that one cart down there that's marked green, and they're different kinds of tables up there on the upper left. That's one type of table. They're actually pretty nice. And then these ones, the brown ones down, the dark brown ones, those are the ones you got to watch for the stables, and they break apart. The screws come out, they break. The legs get bent. So just watch it when you're doing the legs, make sure you lock the legs. And you can see Steve and Dave doing a good 2-man table move there. So anyway, we got lots of time to put up tables. If you get down there 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, we got 3 hours. We have plenty of time. We don't need to be in a hurry. We don't need to, bust our butts too much. That's what it looks like when it's all laid out. And we have sticks. Hal will bring them down, plastic sticks that we use to ensure there's 10 feet between the aisles. And I think it's 5 feet between the tables, Hal? I'm not sure. Yes. We got sticks.
5 feet between tables and 10 feet between aisles.
Yeah, we got sticks. And you can see some of the power cords drop down there. Our customers are told to bring extension cords. So up to 50 feet, and they need to be UL approved. PA, they set up their little area. They've got a little special riser or risers that they put their tables on so they can load it above all of us. And anyway, they usually need a little help. Those are heavy risers. Lunchtime, like I said, we get some croissant sandwiches from Costco. Excuse me. And there's usually plenty of food, some pop, some water, some chips or cookies and stuff like that. So in the past, we've asked for a couple $1 donation just to help defray the cost. You're getting way more food than you can get for a couple bucks. I don't think we're going to bother with it this year. Just we aren't going to have as many people working, I don't think. And but please, and we do this on purpose because people used to leave at noon to go get lunch, and then getting them back in the building and getting set up finished was hit and miss. So we do this for a very specific reason. We even did pizza for a while, but that just got too expensive. But anyway, lunchtime, take them an hour. And then, like I said, the last hour, probably 1 to 2, last setup things and things like that. Where am I? Okay, at 2 o'clock, excuse me. I'm talking too much and my mouth is, this is why I do CW. All right, registration. So like I said, at 2 o'clock, we open up. I have a note here that says we'll be doing vax checking. Amen. We do not have to do vax checking this year. So that will really help out. That is our registration location out there. And we're usually the first ones to greet the vendors coming in. And you can see this lineup between registration and the pavilion. Some pictures of our pallet jack people again. Pallets, if you do work the pallet crew, make sure they're properly stacked. Sometimes our customers get a little bit enthusiastic about stacking heavy things very high, and then stuff almost falls off. And it's just easier to get them another pallet and say, use this. So I ask you, if you're working with the customers out there, to be pleasant, be nice. A lot of these guys have been sitting in the car since 6 o'clock in the morning. They're impatient to get going and doing their thing, but just follow Gary's lead and we'll get along just fine. I've already talked about the new pallets. They should all fit in the elevator. We should not have to worry about pallets that don't fit in the elevator. And we haven't tested that, but they are all the same size. If they don't fit in the elevator, then every single pallet we got is not going to fit in the elevator, and we're going to be in trouble. Let's see. Vendors do not drive pallet jacks. No one comes in without a badge. They all get badges in their packets out at registration. Vendors will drive out immediately after loading their pallets, so we can get the next person in. There is just, I can't think of a single good reason for someone to have to hang around and wait for their pallet to be transported to the table. So there's nobody there that's going to, we take it to their table and it's there when they arrive. Those of you working the pallet crew, if you see an empty pallet, pick it up. Frequently I'm walking the floor and I'll just pick up a pallet and take it to the back. We have a limited number of pallets. We can't let everybody have a pallet at their table at the same time. So it's important to restock the pallets and take them back to the loading dock. There's a lot of heavy stuff being moved here. Be careful, be safe. Again, shoes suitable. You'll notice that everybody wears a vest on the pallet crew. There's a reason for that, and that's good. There is a new procedure for the country store. It involves the loading dock, so I'm going to mention it now. Whoops, back there. I messed up. Okay. They're going to come through drive-in just like any other vendor. Okay, I'm not going to have somebody fill out a country store sheet out at registration anymore. One, it just creates a disconnect between us and Dan. It's his area. He should be able to run it the way he wants. We've had the reason we did that was many, many years ago. We would have people that would bring one thing to the country store, and then they would spend the time wandering around during setup hours. Country store was not meant to be an easy way to get in and wander around. So they're going to get a badge. They're going to get a packet. They're going to get a special badge. It's going to have a time on it, an expiration time. And they're going to load their stuff on a pallet, just like every other vendor. It's going to be marked for the country store. We're going to take it to the country store. They're going to drive out just like any other vendor. They can come in with their badge and they are to go immediately to the country store. They'll do their business with Dan. And I mean, the expiration time will be like an hour. So they're going to have an hour from getting from registration, unloading, getting out to the Gold Gate and getting up to country store. And once they've dealt with Dan, if the hour expires while they're up there, that's just fine. They're dealing with Dan. But once they're done, and Dan is done with it, he'll take away the badge and they got to go. So this is another reason to check for badges as you're walking through there, because we won't have security doing it this year. And, you know, if somebody doesn't have a badge, don't be afraid to challenge them. Okay, that's the new country store procedure for 2022. Let's see here. As I mentioned, between 2 p.m. and 7:30, it's just a continuous flow from registration to through the loading dock. PA will be answering questions, country store will be setting up, and vendors will be setting up. And unless you're on the Pallet Crew, country store registration, or the PA, you can relax, you can wander around if you got a worker badge and look at people's stuff. And just do not, if their stuff is, do not touch. And if their stuff is under a blanket or a tarp, which is we recommend to all of our vendors when they're not in attendance, do not lift up and start peeking under stuff. So, but yeah. Any questions for about, that's basically, oh, yeah, that's pretty much it on Friday. Any questions?
Mikey, I might mention that verbally, the mask policy that's in the chat room.
The mask policy in the chat room? Oh, in hospitality?
Mask policy is required indoors as per state.
Yep.
And Pierce County, we will not be checking vaccination cards.
Right, but there is still a standing mask mandate for indoor events. That is us. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in the odds and ends. Okay. In hospitality, we're definitely asking you to keep a mask on for Bronwyn.
Everywhere.
So, well, everywhere. That's true.
Everywhere inside.
That is true. So again, let's see. Oh, you know, just pictures of stuff. Ham radio outlet will not be there this year. I think it's because of COVID-19. They basically asked me about the policy and said they wouldn't be there. Yep. Okay, that's Friday. We're halfway through. Actually, we're most of the way through. So the basic schedule on Saturday, I mentioned we open up at 5 a.m. for our workers. At 5:30 a.m., our vendors will be allowed in. Scratch out Vax checks there. At 8 a.m., we will start selling tickets. We don't know what our attendance is going to be like. We may have a crowd out there and we may have royally messed ourselves over with by only having 4 ticket sellers. I don't know. We're just going to have to deal with it. More likely, the crowd will be like 2020 and will be somewhat reduced.
What's your comment at 8:30? I don't understand that.
At 8:30, we shut down the gates, or the orange gate.
Yeah,
coming in.
Service gate, yeah, the vendor gate.
Yeah, so because we don't need, everybody should be at the loading dock by 8:30. And we don't have enough time if someone comes in at 9 o'clock and we're going to open up the gates for people coming in. So we need to pick up all the pallets. The fire marshal will probably come through sometime between 8 and 9. So we need to keep it clean. We're going to shut down the gates. Registration is going to shut down. We will keep open the Gold Gate registration for a while after we open, simply because sometimes the people who walk in, like the ARRL guys don't need to come in at 8 o'clock in the morning or something. They can do pretty good just coming through at 8:30 or even close to 9 o'clock. and they'll usually walk in. So we keep open the Gold Gate registration for a while. At 9 o'clock, we will sell tickets at 8:30, and they will pile up in front of the doors and waiting for 9 a.m. We usually have security at those doors to keep people from coming through. We're just going to have to do this year with some banner guard and some signs, and maybe one rent-a-cop or something like that as well. At 9 a.m. we open the doors, and then all day long, hopefully people come through, buy stuff, take it out. Tickets will be busy out there, and we don't have a hand stamper this year because we were going to do vax checking and wrist straps. I don't know what to do about hand stamping now. I forgot about that, Hal.
You can use our wrist straps if people want to
Yeah.
come back in. We can give them a wrist strap.
Technically they all have a stub.
Well, yeah, but it might be easier just to do the wrist straps that Jim has.
Yeah,
Who's gonna give them out?
We'll take care of them.
Okay.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Annie can help in that area, and I can help. And
Yeah, we were counting on the vax check wrist straps to take the place of hand stamping, but I am happy. This is a good problem to have. All right.
Right.
And yep, all day. Again, if you're not working PA or the country store or treasurer or something, relax, walk around, buy stuff, sell stuff, talk to friends.
Mike,
go to hospitality. Yeah.
Yeah, this is Chuck.
Yeah.
Remind folks that there's supposed to be no products out in front of the tables in the aisles. We've got vendors stack stuff out there. Everything has to be under their table.
Mike, you're muted.
I coughed and I forgot to unmute. So yeah, we have to have 10-foot aisles, and we can't have stuff out there. And we can't block the fire extinguishers and things like that. So the fire marshal will check all that stuff as well. It goes on all day. Probably afternoon, people will start packing up to leave. That's fine, as long as they pack it up themselves and they take it out themselves. Nobody's allowed to drive onto the fairgrounds during do our part of the fairgrounds while the event is going on. That's a liability issue. We don't want anybody getting run over, vehicles running, and then frankly, we can't have pallet jacks being used and stuff like that. So that's why we provide the hand carts at PA. If somebody wants to move stuff and leave early, then they're welcome to do so. But our event ends officially at 3 o'clock. At 3 o'clock, we will pass out stacks of pallets, and it'll all begin. We don't have a good idea of how many people we're going to have at tear down. The number of people signed up for tear down is not very big. Of course, a lot of the people have signed up for loading out and stuff like that, which is part of tear down as well. But I am concerned about repeating what happened probably about 10 years ago. And we didn't have enough people to take down tables. It was a long tear down. So if you can be around for tear down, that would be helpful. Even if you don't come to the rest of the event, you want to come down and do just tear down, that will be fine.
Yeah, we would really encourage people who have had positions and worked during the day. They're still there at 3 o'clock. Stick around for a couple more hours and help us take all the tables down and stack them up and stack up the chairs and stuff. And then we have to also sweep the floors and stuff like that to clean the place up. Everything we can do keeps us from being charged by the fairgrounds having to do it. So we really need to help during their tear down.
And they're not all physical jobs. I mean, stacking chairs isn't that bad. Sweeping the floors. Annie is running around there packing up cardboard and stuff like that, to go into to things like that. So it's there's stuff that everybody can do. So how does Loadout work? That's the big question. And I get asked year after year. I write this down for the vendors and put this sheet on every table. So, excuse me, I'm just, like I said, we release the pallets at 3 p.m. Vendors need to pack their pallets before going and getting their vehicle. If they have 2 people, that's fine. If there are 2 people, one can go get the vehicle and the other one could pack. We encourage them to keep their table numbers so they can stick it on their pallet, because once the tables come down, it can be hard to find a table, with no reference points. As the vehicles come into the orange gate, and this is what the people who signed up for tear down registration will end up doing, we will have people out at registration on Grand Avenue and holding back the vendors in 2 lines. And from there, they will alternate into a single line towards the pavilion. The person feeding this line will call in the table numbers to the loading dock and to the upstairs pallet crew. This works pretty good about 90% of the time. The idea is to have the pallets sitting at the loading dock by the time the vendor arrives at the loading gate. And we do pretty good at this. We're well experienced. If the table is not packed up on a pallet when the vendor gets up there, we're going to just pull them out of line, and they don't get a slot in the loading dock until they pack it up. And I won't say we'll send them to the back of the line, but they're just going to have to go someplace else. We can't have them holding up the loading dock. While we're doing this, we're going to be dealing with the 4x4s. They will be having their event. I don't know if they're going to be as full as normal, but Saturday they'll be out there chalking up the Grand Avenue as well as other places, and some of their people aren't as nice as our people. Sometimes pretty inconsiderate, blocking our Grand Avenue and cutting through and stuff like that. But we do have priority. If there's an issue we can't resolve, then we get a hold of Hal.
Yeah, I've got a very close operation with Ken Lane, who's the one of the head guys down there, and we work very closely together.
Right. So it helps when people leave early because that's just fewer people. But just about everybody who's been coming to this event for the past year knows how it works now. We seem to get 1 or 2 people every year that insist that they have to drive in and load up their stuff at the loading dock, and it's confrontational. It's not nice, and if they would just read their stuff, they could figure it out. But I guess their situation is more important than ours. All right, that's the basic schedule for Saturday, and I'm clicking the wrong. There we go. This is just, those are the booths for admission. I don't know that we're going to have, I don't know that we can support an exact change booth. So that may not happen. That's up to you, Jim, but it depends on the crowd too.
Hey, Mike, we're pushing top of the hour, so we need to try to wrap up as we can.
Yeah, our friendly ticket sellers, we are getting down there. This is where people line up. They just crowd out among the doors. We don't line them up in lines. And when we open the doors, they can go through all the doors at one time. Then we let everybody in at 9 a.m. Yeah, this is a normal year. I don't know what that's going to look like this year. I hope it looks sort of like this. Bingo. Country store. We will not have an information table this year, so Rita will not have her smiling face there, but maybe next year. Hospitality. So next door, as I said, in the first aid office is hospitality. Bronwyn's in charge. Only badge-wearing volunteers may partake. There's enough room for tables and siding. If the weather is nice, I recommend going outside and eating outside. And please wear a mask in hospitality. That's the hospitality room. So communications. There's really only going to be communications for the ticket booth. Well, there'll be some for the ticket booth, country store. That's the frequencies involved. Registration, traffic control, and pallet crew are on the second frequency. Registration will probably primarily use FRS radios, except when we're calling in the table numbers during loadout. Then we'll get on the primary for the Pallet Crew. Talk-in will be using the K7 LED repeater along with the PLL there. Administration folks will be on probably telephones most of the time. Our numbers will be up at the PA booth. If you want to give the PA booth your telephone number in case you feel somebody might want to get a hold of you, then you can do that, and Ivy would take care of it. There'll be no telephones, and so there's no secret frequencies this year. Odds and ends for setup and tear down, the gloves, the hard to shows. Please, we've already talked about the tear down issues, where to park, dress for cold and wet weather outside. We have some really nice days, but most of them are kind of stinky. Workers are eligible for door prizes. Get your ticket at announcing. Workers can sell at the country store commission free. Everybody's supposed to have a badge. This is important. All we have to sell is our service. We have a great reputation after 40 years. And even though a lot of our customers won't do this, especially by Saturday, smile, be courteous, be helpful, walk away, don't get mad, get Hal or myself if a conflict arises that you don't feel comfortable handling. But most important of all, remember to have fun. That's why we do this. We want to have fun. Making money is good too, but you can have fun while making money. And we've had lots of people over the years that there's always lots of smiles. And we'll see you in Puyallup in March, 11th and 12th. That's all I got.
Mike,
you want to mention, Michael, you want to mention about the lack of dinner afterwards?
Oh, yes, we will not be having a post-event dinner this year. COVID-19, it's just too close. And I have a feeling we're going to be more tired than usual. And so, no, we will not be doing the Chinese dinner. Go ahead, Sam.
don't forget Gary and his crew have to police the gasoline generators and propane.
Yes, so we put that all in our notes to the vendor. The rules are from the fire marshal. Any generators have to be empty, and no full gas cans. Prefer no propane or anything like that. But yeah,
no taping to the walls and all that stuff.
Any other questions about our event?
Hey, Mike, do you need me after all?
Well, we can always use you out there someplace, taking tickets or something like that. And, if you want to come down, this is just going to be one of those years that we're going to be kind of short-staffed. And so this year, I imagine we won't be doing hand stamping.
Well, I imagine not, but when it sounded like you might need some help with those wristbands, I thought I'd better ask.
Yeah, well, wristbands or hand stamping, either one might be. Hand stamping would be a lot quicker for re-entry.
I can still bring the hand stamps.
Let's go ahead and plan on doing hand stamping.
Okay, if you want to come down, well, yeah, come on down, Dave, and we'll dress warm, and we can put you to work hand stamping.
And we won't leave you out there by yourself. Annie will be there.
Yeah.
Right.
So, any other questions?
And we all want to thank the volunteers. Thanks everyone who's going to be volunteering. We really appreciate your time and effort and energy. It will be, as Mike has said, and everyone else, it's going to be a flexible year for us getting back in the swing and with everything else going on. So, but thank you for everyone's time. It's a lot of work, but we really appreciate it.
And the volunteer website is on the club web page. I'm done.
Mike, if you want to send me the presentation, I can get it posted for us up on Group Sale. Cool. Well, why don't we take, I got 11:09 on my clock. Why don't we take a 5-minute break and come back together for the general club meeting at 11, well, I'll call it 11:15.
And final request for people that do not have themselves named at the call sign, please put that in. It helps me greatly.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause the
This is
recording.
Michael.